Jake Paul's California mansion has been raided by the FBI, multiple news organizations report. You can see in this aerial footage agents in uniform outside his home in Calabasas.
You know what's funny about your brother? Your brother talks more shit than anybody else on the planet. They're trying to fucking sue people when people talk. There's people out there saying they're fake fights.
Jake Paul's name is back in the headlines again, but this time it doesn't feel like the usual internet noise. New whispers are circulating that his biggest fights may have been choreographed from the very beginning. And yes, that speculation now includes the massive Netflix event against Anthony Joshua.
Have raided the Southern California home of YouTube star Jake Paul. Federal officials say the search was part of an investigation. Wendy Birch is in Calabasas with what we're learning tonight.
Sky 5 was overhead this morning as federal agents entered Jake Paul's Calabasas home located in this gated community off of Mulholland Highway.
You know, for me, in my opinion, I think it's scripted a little bit because, you know, of the weight difference and, you know, Joshua is a former, you know, champion. And also, you know, he's current, he's active.
That was not a boxing match. Jake Paul had a very healthy fear for his life while he was in there. He was running away. He was trying to get distance. Then he was trying to step in to win this contest. And then he's trying to get out of the way so that he doesn't get...
Nothing has been officially proven, but that hasn't slowed the rumors at all. These claims are spreading across every platform at breakneck speed, with some corners of the internet even pushing extreme theories involving possible legal trouble.
Our lawyers are actively going after a number of people. One who claims to be a lawyer himself online. I don't remember the name or the handle, but it was something that had like 200,000 likes. And basically this post said there was an agreement for AJ not to knock out Jake, but AJ disregarded the agreement and decided to not get his payday, but knock out Jake Paul. So it's pretty astonishing what people...
Promoters and sanctioned boxing authorities have responded forcefully, stressing that fixing regulated bouts would bring severe legal consequences, not viral attention. But the real damage isn't happening in courtrooms right now. It's happening in the public eye. Jake's authenticity is being questioned more than ever, and his controversial past, including the old FBI incident, is only fueling skepticism.
Jake Paul's California mansion has been raided by the FBI, multiple news organizations report. You can see in this aerial footage agents in uniform outside his home in Calabasas.
Get so many people can't speak. Yeah, but it's obviously scripted, isn't it? I'm like, no. One, that's illegal. I mean, this is a professional contest. Two, we would never sign up to anything that's going to make AJ look bad or devalue him, lose rounds, go loads of rounds.
Do you think there's any world in which AJ pulls back, though?
No, absolutely. He couldn't do that as a fighter. He would be incapable of going in there and holding.
The conversation has shifted entirely. Instead of debating Jake's growth as a boxer, people are now asking whether what they're watching is even real. That's dangerous territory for someone whose entire career is built on attention and perceived credibility. This isn't about one fight anymore. It's about whether the pressure finally slows one of boxing's strangest and most polarizing success stories.
Netflix series. You can watch it and you can go, well, I get the gist of it. Why have you got to turn it into 10 episodes? Because I'm dying with boredom after episode.
Are you telling me that Netflix probably emphasised, listen guys, keep this as long as you can?
Anthony Joshua didn't step, irrespective. I sat to all these guys, whether it be Spencer or Paul Smith, talking about the fact that Jake Paul couldn't run, didn't have the footwork to be able to move around the ring and get away from Anthony Joshua. And irrespective of the fact that he proved he can run, I mean, we knew he could run because he's got legs. But the fact of the matter is, Anthony Joshua, as an elite fighter, and all this ring rust cobblers, he's not the Tin Man from The Wizard of Oz. He was fighting against a YouTuber who hasn't got any level about him. So with due respect to the situation, Anthony Joshua didn't throw any meaningful punches. Even the punch that he knocked him out was an arm punch. And you look at the reality and you think to yourself, Anthony Joshua knew what he was in with. He's been broken into America now as a media star alongside being a boxer. Netflix have got some wonderful content and Jake Paul runs around doing what Jake Paul does. So everybody wins, and only the people that don't win are the people that go, well, look at it. And even the people that think Anthony Joshua is a busted flush now go, well, that proves the point. Well, maybe it gets him a fight against Fabio Wardley, because maybe it lures Fabio Wardley into the thinking that actually I'll have this version of Anthony Joshua, and then the real version of Anthony Joshua emerges. The bottom line is you take nothing.
What many fans overlook is that skepticism around Jake Paul didn't appear overnight. Boxing insiders, retired champions, and industry promoters have questioned his rise for years. They point to patterns that feel off. Carefully selected opponents past their prime. Fights that unfold at oddly controlled tempos. Dramatic moments arriving with almost perfect timing. Even rumors of contract clauses that sound more like insurance policies than standard agreements.
Jake lost to Tommy Fury, and that's the one everyone keeps on. Do you think he's improved much since Tommy Fury?
Yeah.
but do I think he's improved enough to be competitive? Unless I close my eyes and Josh is completely shot to bits, no.
Yeah, and so is the potential that Jake Paul, like, I know you keep saying no, I know you're right, but is there a world in which you see Jake Paul
come on, stop.
landing a shot and doing it?
Of course he can land a shot.
No, landing a shot and doing something.
No. As soon as he feels the first jab, he's going to be like, what the fuck have I signed up to?
Yeah, lovely. Well, at least you're on the same page with me.
He's just going to touch him. The first jab, he's going to go, what the fuck was that? It's a pair of 10-ounce grandson. Could you imagine when it lands?
10 ounce. That's what we wore. You're a big lump anyway.
A jab with 10-ounce gloves on hurts.
Yeah,
and that first jab lands, and as sharp as AJ will be.
To those observers, none of this resembles boxing's natural chaos. It feels curated, polished, and overly precise. Fans expect unpredictability, not performances that look rehearsed. When multiple respected voices across the sport raise similar concerns independently, the narrative changes. It stops being blind hatred and turns into legitimate doubt. Once that doubt sets in, records lose meaning because people start questioning whether the journey was authentic or carefully managed.
Here's a fun fact. If I ever come across you, bum, I'm knocking you dead spark out. I ain't a YouTuber or a man half your size. I am him, the man. You're a classless loser coming off a 15 months knockout defeat to a local lad. Imagine if someone from Morecambe knocked me out. You big bum, useless tosser. Get up, and I can't wait if Jake Paul knocks your spark out, you big bum.
Here's where things shift. Stepping away from the conspiracies and rewatching Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua with fresh eyes, the calmer analysis actually makes more sense. The fight didn't look scripted. It looked messy, awkward, and uncomfortable, which is usually the mark of a real fight. Joshua didn't rush forward because the stakes were enormous. One mistake could have meant global embarrassment. Jake, meanwhile, wasn't boxing traditionally at all. He was in survival mode. Constant movement, clinching, disruption, turning the ring into chaos. Not pretty. Not effective long-term. But very real.
That, in my opinion, should have gotten him to lose a point or some kind of warning. He was doing double leg takedowns the entire fight. He wasn't throwing punches, he was running and circling, and then the second Anthony Joshua got close to him, he would shoot in on him with a double leg. Okay, now, sure, that works for an MMA fight. It was a nice example of how you can get by a boxer's punches numerous times. It also exhausted him. He must have shot in at least, no joke, 30 or 35 times in that fight, which is just absurd. And again, I think that's what threw off the pacing of the fight and made Anthony Joshua look a little bit awkward in the early rounds because he was keeping distance. He didn't want to get caught with that overhand right. And then as he stepped in, every time he closed the gap, Jake Paul would just shoot in and get into tight range, like clinch range. And very good strategy for self-defense.
That explains the strange rhythm. Not a predetermined outcome, but Joshua navigating disorder instead of clean exchanges. What surprised many was Jake's durability. Criticize influencer boxing all you want, but absorbing genuine heavyweight shots late and staying upright takes real toughness. That said, this wasn't elite boxing from Jake. It was desperation mixed with damage control. Joshua stayed patient, let fatigue do the work, and finished the fight exactly when the opening presented itself. The takeaway isn't favoritism or manipulation. Pressure creates ugly fights. Expectations distort reality. Joshua earned a clear win. Jake showed grit. And social media once again struggled to understand what real risk actually looks like.
Right, so believe it or not, I do not think that this fight was rigged. I think what happened was that, number one, Anthony Joshua had a lot to lose. If he got reckless and he got caught and KO'd in the early rounds, that would have been the most embarrassing upset in all of boxing history. Now, it's easy to sit on a couch and watch him and say, well, he still should have done it. But no, you're going to be more defensive, you're going to get a read, and you're going to try and understand how the guy's moving. Now, this is where I could see why it was difficult in the early rounds for Anthony Joshua. Jake Paul did not fight like a boxer.
Now comes the unfiltered breakdown from someone who truly understands the sport. Duke McKenzie doesn't sugarcoat anything. Listening to his analysis, everything clicks. He isn't confused by the 6 rounds. You can't finish someone quickly if they refuse to engage. Jake entered with one objective: avoid clean shots at all costs. The Roadrunner comparison is accurate. This wasn't boxing rhythm. It was panic-driven movement, grabbing, and constant evasion. Duke's criticism isn't personal. It's about honesty. You marketed this as real competition, then spent 6 rounds minimizing contact. That isn't brilliance. That's survival.
A lot of people are sort of jumping on Joshua's case saying, why did it take 8 rounds? Sorry, 6 rounds. Why did it take 6 rounds for him to get Jake Paul out of there? But as I've stated before quite clearly, you know, it's hard to take somebody out when they won't cooperate. I mean, Jake Paul, he was running around like the road runner in that. Sorry, that's Trevor again. He does this to me every time. Every time I get on, he gets the raving up. Stop, puppy, come here. Yeah, sorry. Jake Paul running around like the road runner last night. He was a bigger letdown because he talked the talk and obviously couldn't back it up. Now, from the minute he got into that ring, to get on the back foot and just start running around was quite pathetic. To be honest with you. It almost reminded me of, like, you know, like when you see a fly on the windscreen and you're trying to swat that fly and you just can't get it. That's what he.
What really stands out is how Duke redirects focus back to Anthony Joshua. This fight was never about Jake winning. It was about Joshua rebuilding confidence. Duke nails it by calling this a reset, not a statement. Knock out the amateur. Restore belief. Move forward. And the idea that Joshua was holding back gets destroyed by one fact. You don't fracture someone's jaw multiple times by taking it easy. 6 rounds wasn't hesitation. It was discipline. Duke also draws a firm line. Content creators fighting each other is entertainment. Professional boxing is a serious occupation with lasting consequences. Mix those worlds recklessly and someone leaves with more than bruises.
It was like seeing a fly on the windscreen. AJ was trying to swat him, and every time he got a bit closer, he kept moving. Then he moved again. It was quite a pathetic performance from Jake Paul, given he kept talking the talk, beating his chest, screaming at everyone, trying to convince everybody that he could somehow win this fight. But that was never going to happen. It was so one-sided. It was quite pathetic, to be honest with you. I thought a pathetic performance from Jake Paul, because, as AJ said, and everybody knows, he's not a real boxer. There's levels to this game, and he was way out of his level, way out of his depth.
Strip away the speculation, outrage, and frame-by-frame obsession, and the truth becomes clear. The fight revealed exactly what it needed to. Jake Paul faced his toughest test and lasted longer than many expected. But lasting and belonging are very different things. Joshua handled business, rebuilt confidence, and reminded everyone that heavyweight boxing can't be shortcut forever. The skepticism around Jake didn't come from one moment. It came from years of controlled environments finally meeting uncontrolled reality. Some will cry rigged. Others will say Joshua should have ended it sooner. The truth sits in the uncomfortable middle. Real fights are messy. Patience beats panic. Skill always surfaces. That's the lesson. Now I want your take. Is the skepticism around Jake Paul justified, or is he held to a different standard? Did Joshua approach this correctly, or should 6 rounds never happen? Drop your thoughts in the comments, like, share, and subscribe to Boxing Headquarters. I'll see you in the next breakdown.